We've just spent a month here in the dead of winter, and we can't believe the blue skies and the sunshine and the warm temperatures.
But if you want to spend the winter here, you'll definitely have to save up.
If you're new around here, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Gillian. We're a couple who retired early and now we travel the world full time. And we want to inspire you to have more freedom and more adventure in your life.
To everyone following our channel, thank you for coming back for another episode. Sadly, we're at the end of our time here in Malta. It's been an amazing place to spend the winter, but now it's time to tally the final bill.
So this is another video in our ongoing series where we share how much we spend in amazing destinations around the world. Since we started this series, we've stayed in a lot of awesome places.
Some of them were countries where we got a lot of value for our dollar, like Turkey. To date, Italy was the most expensive place we visited, but then we arrived in Malta.
So in case you're not familiar, Malta is a small island in the middle of the Mediterranean, just south of Italy. So why did we choose Malta if it's so expensive?
Well, with the pandemic going on, Malta was actually one of the only places that we could go to after Turkey. The rest of Europe was in total lockdown.
That said, we knew that Malta is a beautiful country with lots to offer. Natural beauty, an interesting culture, loads of history, and of course, a great climate during the winter.
Today we're going to get into all of our experiences and costs from the past month in Malta. We're covering accommodations, food, entertainment, transportation, and we'll share whether we think it's worth it to go to Malta to escape the winter.
So if you've spent time in Malta, let us know what you think. Is a winter in Malta worth the price? And if you've never been here before, will you be putting it on your bucket list?
Let's start with the biggest expense, and that's our accommodations.
Malta is a small country with less than 500,000 people, and it's also one of the most densely populated countries in the world. Everyone's crammed into a fairly small space. So this means that real estate prices are through the roof.
We ended up paying more here versus anywhere we've stayed in Europe since we started traveling. The only place that even comes close was Florence, Italy, and even that cost less.
That said, we did get a lot for our spend. We're in a beautiful loft-style apartment in the town of Slema. It's a traditional building that was recently converted into an apartment. Everything is fresh and new with some charming touches like wooden shutters and a limestone arch.
Overall, it's a tasteful, uncluttered space with tons of natural light. It has all of those great amenities that we look for: a modern, well-equipped kitchen, a washing machine, a really comfortable bed, and it's got a great living room with Netflix on the TV.
The location is great as well. It's right near the beach where we go for a walk every day with our dogs. It's also close to restaurants and groceries as well as public transit. And the historic center of Valletta is just a short ferry ride away.
For all this, we paid almost $1,800 US, and you can let us know if you think that's a lot or a little for what we got.
As far as entertainment, as usual, you can pay about as much as you want. We made the most of free activities like spending hours wandering around the historic center of Valletta. This is actually the smallest capital city in all of Europe. We also went and looked around Medina, which was the previous capital of Malta long ago.
You know we love outdoor activities, so we did a lot of hiking. There are a number of spectacular coasts on Malta and also on the island of Gozo. In fact, we rented a car and took the ferry over to Gozo for the day. We visited the Citadel in the capital city of Victoria and had an incredible view of the entire island. And then we just capped that day off with a gorgeous hike along the Sanap Cliffs.
For all these activities, our only cost was transportation, which we'll be sharing with you later in the video. Of course, there are also plenty of paid attractions in Malta, and we were both interested to check out the #1 site in Valletta, which is the St. John's Co-Cathedral.
This is a spectacular cathedral from the 1500s. It was built by the Knights of St. John, who ruled Malta for around 300 years. So the admission is normally $18, but on that day, for some reason, it was free.
So our total entertainment cost came in at just $8, if you can believe it. And that was for our subscription to Great Courses, which is an online learning platform. Next up is dining out. If you've watched any of our other cost of living videos, you'll know that trying local food is one of the reasons that we travel.
This trip was no different. We tried as much local food as we could. The first thing we tried is something you see at kiosks on every street corner in Malta, and that's the pastizzi. It's a small phyllo pastry that's filled with either ricotta or mushy peas, and at just 60 cents, it's absolutely the cheapest thing you can eat on Malta.
Next up is the acetat, another baked treat that's pretty widely available. So this particular one was giant, almost as big as my head. It's a pastry stuffed with so much ricotta that I actually couldn't finish the whole thing, and I can eat a lot.
We also tried the national soda of Malta, which is called Kinney. We don't usually have soft drinks, but we wanted to try it while we were here, and it was good. It's sort of similar to brio.
Moving on to more nutritious meals, we tried a fatir sandwich. This is a traditional Maltese bread, and it's usually served stuffed with savory ingredients like sardines and olives. Now ours had some pretty interesting fillings like banana walnut chutney and halloumi, not in the same sandwich. Anyway, they were delicious.
When you're in Malta, you have to try rabbit in some form. It's basically the national dish. So we had it as part of a really delicious pasta that also had tomatoes, more peas, and red wine.
Finally, we also treated ourselves to a tasting menu at a very traditional restaurant. It was a 7-course meal with local ingredients and lots of fish and seafood. Since Malta is a pretty expensive country for dining out, we wanted at least one dinner that felt like a special occasion. And in general, we ate out around once a week.
Although we might have snuck in an extra pastizzi here and there.
Okay, you're probably right. So our total bill for dining out came in just over $200.
The rest of our meals were all about home cooking, which includes a lot of healthy salads and even having really fresh mussels every week.
We found that Malta was pretty comparable in price to Italy. In fact, many of the brands in the grocery store were from Italy. So here's an example of what $50 worth of groceries looks like. And in total, we spent just under $700 on our groceries.
Getting around Malta is pretty easy and convenient, so we used a combination of public transit, car rental, and also Bolt, which is the local equivalent of Uber.
So we took a Bolt to get from the airport to our Airbnb, which came in at $15. Bus rides cost $1.80 per person, and we also took the ferry from Slima to Valletta a few times, and round trip for that is just over $3.
And of course, our big ticket item was renting a car for the day and taking it on the car ferry across to Gozo. That cost $65 all in. So our total spend on transportation for the month was just under $200.
We have a few other regular monthly costs that relate to our travel. So first up would be our global data plan, which came in at $8. And for insurance, we spent $140 on our international medical plan with Cigna Global.
Of course, we always like to note what we don't include in our cost of living videos. So that's any personal expenses like clothing or technology, any gifts or donations, and any costs related to our dogs.
The grand total for our entire month in Malta came in at just under $3,000. This is higher than our usual monthly spend of around $2,500, but it's still within a comfortable range.
Of course, we did spend quite a bit on accommodations, more than we've spent anywhere else in Europe this past year. Yet we did manage to stay fairly close to our targeted monthly budget.
This is a useful takeaway for all you slow travelers out there. Yes, Malta is pretty expensive as a winter getaway, but once you've covered the cost of accommodations, there are lots of ways to make your budget work.
As usual, we manage our food costs by being very selective about when we eat out. So we would rather have that one really special meal than a lot of random meals that just blow our budget.
And there's no need to overspend on entertainment when you're in such a beautiful place. All it costs is a bus ticket and you can be out hiking the trails.
So if you want to see for yourself how Malta compares to all our other destinations, you can check out our entire cost of living series by clicking on the link right here. You can go ahead and click on it now.